because I don't know that there's anything majorly pressing that we need to go over, but maybe a lot of other things or whatever. Most people want to know what the state of the market is and where are we at the end of October, which is different from where we were at last October, and I think we're in a changing period of time. I think most of what we've been talking about is happening. I think there are still significant numbers of buyers in the marketplace in almost every area of the town. The city itself is still on an upward swing. I think all of the numbers, when you pull statistics, are all skewed by Harvey. There's no doubt. Automotive sales, sales of lumber, sales of furniture, sales of TV sets, permitting, driver's license renewals are all discombobulated from, 51 inches of rain over a month period of time or whatever. So you can pull any sort of headlines and it's a mixed bag of messages. Nationwide, they run these numbers and it's so funny to me. Now you must remember, I start every day of my life reading the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the local paper. And it'll be in the New York Times, Houston home sales off 9%, and in the Wall Street Journal, it'll be Houston home sales up 13%. And it just depends on how you calculate it and what you're calculating from. Is that the quarter or the month or year to date or whatever? Overall, of course, the statistics were down in September because you're comparing to the surge of the things that were transferred of August of 2017 into August until September of 2017. So you knew September of 2018 was going to be down compared to the year before. There was virtually no way you can make that work. It'll be interesting to see. I think October's sales of October, which are not out yet, of course, I think they'll be up 2 or 3%. In overall, I think that's about what we're going to do, which is not 10%, but I still think the number of sales we're going to get. This firm, which is the easiest thing for me to calculate, is up about 8% over last year, which was still the single best year in the history of the firm. So we're doing better, but we work in better areas also than the overall part of the city. This article was in the Wall Street Journal. I think we will probably send you the link later today. It was just a major article that people referred to. And it's talking about certain areas fared a year later. Certain areas have fared well post-Harvey, and certain areas that you might expect are doing poorly. Those areas that flooded a year later are doing poorly. I was surprised, as we all were, the number of resales that happened immediately after the flood. You got to October, November, and people rebought houses of neighborhoods north of here or south of here, west of here, and they bought them real quick. The vultures swooped in, and the number of sales was pretty good. I always said we shouldn't have let those people buy those houses. I don't think we should. I think you're experiencing what we said was going to happen. Number of people remodeled too quickly, and then some people bought those houses, and now their whole house is full of mold because they didn't appropriately deal with the rain impact that they had or whatever. So some of those things are just now catching up to the people a year later. But those neighborhoods like Meyerland, those neighborhoods, Terrence has one. What's that neighborhood called up north? Bear Creek. Now a year later, there aren't people chomping at the bits to buy one of these houses that had 4 feet of water in it. I think that they're lingering there, and I think it's still fairly depressing if you drive through there. You can drive down Braeswood, and still it's fairly depressing over there. And don't know that it's going to get significantly better. Now you have more stringent rules. So now it's not as easy to buy that house and remodel it, of course. And so I think they're going to linger there. Grays Heights itself is fairly depressing. And you can drive by and you can pull up your little app and you can see 10 houses for sale on HAR. You can drive through and find 200 other ones that have the for sale by owner on there. So there's plenty of looming inventory out there. What basically happens, and it happens in Kingwood, and it happens in River Oaks, and it happens in the Heights, is that there's all these people that want to buy a house, and when something pops up, they go for the brand new one. So statistically, you know, when you're taking a listing, you look at the average house that sells got under contract quickly. They got under contract in day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they closed 31 days later. Okay. The other houses stay on the market forever. And so when PAR calculates the days on the market and it says it's, you know, 98 or 124 or whatever, it's not really an accurate reflection whatsoever. It's either 31 or it's 365. And when you average the two, that's where you get this number, but that's not an accurate reflection really of what's going on over there. The best listings have multiple offers, and that's the game you want to be in. And then somehow we've got to figure out how to convince these buyers to buy the other houses that have been on the market longer than 30 days. And that's the whole real estate industry is going to have to figure that out. Hopefully we're smarter than the other guys and we'll do it quicker than they will. But I would tell you, even after 3 weeks, if your listing doesn't have some offer, we're going to have to be more aggressive to do something different. I think waiting for an offer is a pipe dream today, because when you get the offer, you're not going to like the offer that you get, you know? So that just makes everyone angry. So I think we're going to have to take the selling community and you're going to have them think outside the box, and the realtor world's going to have to think outside the box. And it can be any number of things. Or I think what the traditional thing to do, and I think you're going to see it here in a second, is pull the damn thing off the market. If it hasn't sold, you know, pull it off the market and try again at a later date with something different going on there. Your risk, and of course I understand the fear. I'm not a stupid guy. I have 1032 Ashland. We've tried for about 30 days. I want to be clear. We told them it was worth some number. They wanted to list at a higher number. We listed at the higher number. We got an offer at the low number I told them to begin with. We got an offer on the first day or two, and they were unwilling to take that. I think that's the market telling them what I initially told them to begin with. That's what the market's willing to pay for this gig. We can try for the higher number, but I don't think it's going to work. And so, yeah, I think you pull it off. When you pull it off, you can't really withdraw it. You're going to end up having to terminate it. He's going to get 187 people call him the next day. Everyone's going to tell him that they'll do it for $500. And when we get to February and March, there's a strong chance he won't relist with me, right? So I lost the listing by telling him the truth that it's in his best interest to pull it off the market and try at a later date, you know. And I don't like losing listings any more than you do. The only thing I can say is go after someone else's listing and try and get you one in February that had the same situation that I did. You will lose some listings. There's just no doubt about it. I think the way that you can hedge your bet is to continue to stay in contact with them. I think there's this tendency to retreat and say, oh, damn it, I gave it my best try, and now I just am embarrassed and I don't want to talk to you anymore. And I think you're going to have to send them state of the markets every 2 or 3 weeks and show them what went on the market and what sold. And if you do that, there's a fighting chance that they will relist with you. Otherwise, you know, if they really need to sell, some people really need to sell, then you're going to have to find some way to get them a different result. And yeah, it's photoshopping something, it's rearranging something, it's doing a Scrabble word quiz, it's a video, a YouTube video from you talking about it, it's a YouTube video of them talking about it, it's their kids playing. Quit taking these static photographs and photograph the cat in the pantry. Something different. I think if you want a different result, you got to think outside the box for some of these listings, especially if we're in October and it's, you know, you've been on more than 30 days. I think you're going to be forced to try something different. And maybe it's pull it all, do something, put a pumpkin on the front porch, and raise the price by $1. I mean, sometimes it is sending the message, if you want it cheaper, show that the price gets more expensive, not less expensive. I'm not saying this works in every instance, but it works a lot of the time. I mean, because it sends the message, it's not going to get any cheaper. We're only going to go on more expensive. And then I think you're going to have to take some of these instances, whatever price range you're in, and show the market, the ones that sold often sold higher than the asking price. You know, there are plenty of examples in every price range where houses in the last 3 months have sold for higher than the list price, and show people that it doesn't just go down in price, that they go up in price. If you have specific things, we can talk about them individually, but I mean, I think the point, this particular article about this was, of course, fairly Heights friendly. It was talking about people who, you know, were moving into the area and considering the Bel Airs of the world or the Meyerlands of the world, and now only consider things with height in their name are probably a pretty good deal a year later. You know, whether that's whatever height it is, Houston Heights and Woodland Heights and North Hill Heights, at least imply to people that you're higher than the swamp. And so it was a pretty good article, especially of the heights and the things, you know, we all know people have found the heights now. 20 years later, they have found the heights and how wonderful it is. We know how wonderful it is. And I think you're going to have to start talking about what's wonderful about whatever neighborhood it is. If it's Montrose, if it's Avondale, if it's the Museum District, what makes it walkable is something to walk to. You know, what makes it green are trees. What makes it accessible to parks is how far it is to the hike and bike trail. I think we've got to be more specific about some of these selling points. And I think a few more of these personal testimonies from sellers. They bought a house for some particular reason. Why did they buy it? And these little personal testimonies go a long way. But yeah, I think you're experiencing it. List initially, get a lot of activity, take the best offer. After that, it goes way downhill. So if you have a buyer, you know, of course, it doesn't matter what price range, if something listed, yeah, I have P-Court listed for $450. We took $450. That one didn't work out. You know what the next offers are? $412. Haven't got anything above $412. It's hard to get the seller to take $412 when they had $450 30 days before, right? But the reality of it is that's about the best we're going to get. We either have to do something different over there at P-Court to get a different result. I listed Heritage Oaks, same thing. It first listed for $4.5 million. It's going to be the second guy. I have it at $3 million. It's on the tax records for $3.7 million. They fought their taxes. They had O'Connell and Associates and lost their tax deal for $3.7 million. And I'm at $3 million, and I can't get an offer higher than $2.6 million, right? But I don't know what, you know, all I know to do is take it off the market, paint something, and raise the price to $3.5 million. And then someone will, I swear to God, if we would do this, someone will offer us $3.1 million because they'll think it's a bargain for $400,000 less. And it's purely a mind game over here. But we've done trying Heritage Oaks 30 days, and that's all we're going to do. The next thing you're going to go do is list, I'm telling you, $3.6 million. The only thing I need to say in the MLS, it's listed $100,000 less than the appraised value. Just only say that. Get somebody to look at it and somebody to offer 3.1. And I'll be Heritage Oaks. It's in Memorial. Piney Point. Otherwise, I'm just going to sit here and sit here and sit here, and it ain't going to work. I just don't think it's going to work. So, I mean, we'll see if I can convince my own clients to take my own advice over here. We'll see. But I think something different has to happen in the marketplace. Question or comments about that? I mean, we can look at something specific. I mean, if we need to look at any particular area, we're going to have these October statistics pretty soon. They're probably more valid than the September statistics. Cooler weather will help. I mean, it's been summer here all of October. It'd be nice if I'm wearing a wool suit just because I want to pretend like it's fall. It's not yet fall, but I'm going to convince myself that it is. So, you know, at some point, you got to wear the damn wool clothes that we have because I can't wear them in March either. So
you have all those vests.
I haven't. It hasn't. I've been burning up. I haven't been able. I have a jacket. I can't even wear the jacket. I'm going to wear the vest. I have pink underwear on, honestly. We have 2 more days of pink. I'm about $500 short of my goal here. So if anyone wants to donate $25, jump on up there. If not, I'll donate the rest. But the Real Men Wear Pink thing was fun. I had another fashion show on Saturday night with a full crowd of people. It was fun. I wore pink socks to that, and it turned out great. What else have we got going on?
Jerry, you had a question?
A lot of people will say, oh, I guess everything's going to settle down. It's not a good time to buy or sell because the holidays are coming up. I say that my broker says that the buyers come out of the woodwork.
Yeah, I mean, I think they do. I still think the best time, to list a house is October, November, the first week of December. It isn't going to be good December 15th to February 28th.
Best time of the year or?
Yeah, best time of the year. I think it's still a good time to go and list a house. I mean, Stars Listing got multiple offers. There's plenty of things that, so I look at over 1.3 million over in Woodland Heights or whatever, and the same thing. There's 21 for sale. Something will pop up, that thing at the corner of Balin and one of those things. It had multiple offers and sold in a day. The other 22, which have been on the market for a year, continue to stay on the market. So it still was a good time for them to list, right? For a new listing, it sold rapidly. Stars thing on Alston can sell rapidly. I mean, there's still plenty of things that sell rapidly. It's the hardest sell is the ones that have been on for the longest period of time.
I had 21 of them open house Sunday, and the Sunday before I had 0.
Yeah, that's right. And I think they like the new listing. I think what we were seeing is the open houses that have been open for an extended period of time had very little traffic or none, and the new listings had a lot of traffic, which tells you the same thing we've been saying. Plenty of buyers, they're bored as hell with something that's been on the market more than 3 weeks. They don't want that house. They want a new house. They want a new listing. They want something fresh to look at. So you either have to take your old one and make it look fresh again. But yeah, I still think it's a perfectly fine time. The number of sales is going to be up. The interest rates are still reasonable. It's still we're growing in jobs. We're growing in population. The people still love the inner city. I have plenty of buyers. Most of my buyers are flexible. They can buy at any time. So they're picky. I think they're just more particular than ever. They've seen everything that's on the market. They're just waiting for something new and can buy today or February. The hardest thing has still been trying to take these things that have been on the market for a while and try and make them look different, something different about them.
I have a question.
Yep.
So if someone has contacted me about listing your house, they would like it sold by April. When would you suggest? Well,
I would give them about the same advice. It depends on the price. I would try it right now for 30 days. Now I'd pull it off the market and I would try it again March 1. I wouldn't think, it's a little risky to wait till March 1 because what if, so there's no harm at all in trying now, if you can leave now. But as I say, you're going to know so quickly, you're going to pull it off. If it doesn't sell in 30 days, you're going to put it back on. When you pull it off, I'm going to pull off 1032 Ashland Thursday or Friday, and I will see if someone who wants 1032 Ashland will come beat our door down after it goes off the market. I think it's one of the nicer houses for $770,000. Okay? I think it has more features. If you want a screen porch, if you want a nice alley, if you want an unfinished garage apartment, you can keep comparing to something with no screen porch and no parking space in front and no garage apartment and no good alley. And I don't think that those are fair comparable. How much more will you pay for that? Will you pay $20,000 more for those 4 items versus the one that sold without those 4 items last month? And my guy's not willing to sell for less than that. He's not willing to sell his house with the garage apartment and the screen porch and the parking space and the alley the same price as one that didn't have those things. So when I pull it off, I'll see if the people who did before, who had bought nothing, or if someone else who's been waiting for it to go down in price comes out of the woodwork. Often they do. And I'm not sure, and when we'll go back on in March, that we wouldn't just put it up at a higher price again. Okay. I don't know that we'll put it at a lower price. So yeah, I would say if I had that much flexibility, that's exactly what I would do.
Well, they're renting the house now, so they don't really care, but they're just thinking of their tenants, but they would offer them an incentive to get out early.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I would try now. If it's a nice house, I would try now. If it's a not so nice house, I would get it nice before I put it on the market. Nobody wants brown or Formica tile countertops or something that smells like dog pee.
And showing it with tenants is a whole other thing.
Yeah. So the same thing. I would probably try now and see how the market is. Depends on where, if it's a Woodland Heights bungalow, it might be just fine. And the same thing, then I would pull out the tenants and, paint it in March and put it on March 1st or something. I think that's what I do. I think at 2045 Harvard, we should just pull it. The tenants now want to stay till the 20th. Just pull it off the market, wait, let the tenants get out. There are 4,000 toys on the first floor. It's insanity to think that anybody can see a house with all that shit in it. You walk in the door and the study has 700 little bitty toys in it. And so you're put off from the very beginning. You might as well just, we tried it, pull it off, let the tenant get out, paint something, make it smell fresh, put it back on. I think it'll probably sell fine.
Yeah, so you've always said that, you know, October, November, first week of December was the second selling season.
It is.
And that if you buy a house before the end of the year, your homestead starts on January 1st.
Yeah.
You know, which is a good thing for some people, because money, you know, it's their money and they can see it. They buy early, they can see it as a savings.
Yeah. I mean, I still think it's a good time to sell a house.
So that's not really my question. The question is has to do with Becky Davis. How is, because there's been some incidents around
I think there are higher instances of crime throughout the city. I think what you're seeing is more visibility of crime because next door wasn't here 4 years ago, and it's here today. And so you hear more about things that you didn't hear. The number of crimes in general is down, okay? You got more people, but you hear about things in other areas that you didn't used to hear about. I think that's my first point or whatever. I think crime and safety, of course, are a high priority. But let's be clear. The rich people aren't the only ones that figured out that the Heights is now a great place. Criminals have also figured out the Heights is a really nice place to steal and rob and do things in, right? They know it's wealthier than it used to be. As it becomes more affluent, you're going to have more crime. I think there's a high level of frustration in the country that makes people's temper shorter than it's been since the Vietnam War, okay? And that people have this tendency to pop off quicker. There's a powder keg going on. It's quicker to pull out a pistol than it is to talk to someone. And so I think you're seeing that in a number of instances, not just in synagogues across the country, but I mean, I think you see a higher level of, there are more people than ever carrying a gun than ever. You know, there's more people that are proud to show off their gun than ever before. And I think there's a high level of just, like I say, general frustration with people that the typical person that had road rage used to get out of the car and hit them. I was on Balin 10 years ago and someone, you know, did this to me, then I should slow down. And I got out of my car and I told the fucker never to touch me or point at me again. Now you just pull out a pistol and shoot him. It's just easier. Now you don't have to worry about him hitting you back.
Yeah.
So I think.
Wait.
I get your point.
Are you carrying?
Not right here.
No.
Jerry,
But I think there are plenty of.
Jerry's gonna take his heart.
Plenty of
Jerry.
Today, 5 years, I have a pistol, 5 my bed. If someone breaks into my, and Balin was a scary house. It's a big old house, it's a target for people, right? So yeah, if someone broke into my house, I would have shot them. Now, when I hear gunshots, I take the pistol outside with me. I wouldn't have done that 5 years ago, looking for opportunity, right? And I just think that that's become the mindset, that we wouldn't have done that a little bit ago.
Right.
And I think that it's, you know, I look at myself, I am out of touch with half of the population of this state. What you're talking about, millions and millions and millions of people are diametrically opposed to the way that I think about mankind, poverty, race, religion. We're diametrically opposed. And it's in our face every day how opposed we are to those things versus the unification of some event that brings you all together. It's really nice to think, Jerry's a nice guy. It's not so easy to think, Jerry, you're a homophobic racist. You know, and when you think that way, then you automatically, there's nothing else Jerry can say to me. We can agree about 98% of the things, and I just want to focus on the fact that he's a racist.
Well, no, I mean,
And I'm just making this up. Well,
No,
I know, but
Are you?
we all, I mean, how many people years ago would have gone into someone's yard and removed the Jimmy Carter sign out of the yard? They wouldn't do that. Everyone wants to steal the cruise signs and the Beto signs. They will walk into someone's yard and take their sign. We wouldn't have done that. We'd have just stood out front of their other yard with our own signs that gay is me. And I think there's a bit of anger.
yeah.
And a bit of, short-temperedness.
Yeah.
And I think some of the crime is that way.
Yeah.
You feel more empowered with the pistol today.
Yeah, but considering everything that's happening and the fact that the Heights owners, people that do business in the Heights, realtors have branded the Heights as whatever it is. So is anyone planning to say we're increasing the police through the neighborhoods? Or
Let's just be real clear. When Proposition B passes on November 6th, you're going to have 500 less policemen,
Right.
not more policemen. Society is the exact same way, Jim.
Yeah.
Everyone wants more and they're unwilling to pay for it. So they want $3 worth of services and they only want to pay $1. You have 1,000 fewer policemen on staff today than you had 15 years ago, yet you have 500,000 more people with a pistol.
Right.
How does the math work there? And yes, there's an app for that. And yes, there's greater technology, but there's no greater incentive to reducing crime than having a policeman driving around.
Yeah.
But most people don't want a policeman driving around because the policeman driving around gave me a ticket the other day because I was on my phone on Houston Avenue and they said I was in a school zone. I've lived in the same house for 13 years. And while I really can appreciate that Travis Elementary is way on the other side over there, I didn't realize being on the phone on Houston Avenue before you turn on to daylight is a crime, that it cost me $240 to drive to my house on the phone. Now that puts a bad impression about policemen in people's minds, right? They don't want to pay a ticket for being on the phone, turning on Houston Avenue. Why Houston Avenue would be in the school zone and the car, but it is. I paid my ticket, but I'm just telling you, I mean, I don't think we're going to get more policemen anytime soon.
And
Right.
people don't want to pay for the constable, and I know my husband has a bunch of HPD off-duty guys that provide security for them. They say due to our location, we're so close to Central, that they purposely don't stick a lot of people in this neighborhood anymore because they can be here so quickly if they need to. So that's why if you live in the neighborhood a long time, you see a lot fewer patrol cars coming through. You don't see any HPDs anymore unless they're going at the end of their shift. And constables, I mean, we all pay for constables and you used to see them every day. And then now, I mean, I see them maybe every couple of weeks.
That's the same way, Moncos, you never see them.
And I mean, I'm out and about every day. I walk my dog multiple times a day and I used to see him, we'd wave, but yeah, never.
So the
Give
deal
us
is,
an
we
idea.
just have to brand the Heights. We're not as rich as we look.
Yeah. I don't think that Heights has any higher percentage of crime than any other particular neighborhood.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to say the Heights is bad, I think you'd say it's more visible than ever. Show me a neighborhood you think is better, and let's look at the real statistics. I don't know that there are any less gunshots in River Oaks.
And get out and vote.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
Oh,
Well, you just say the Heights is a high profile neighborhood.
It's a very high profile neighborhood. With the Wall Street Journal and New York Times write about it all the time. It's a high profile neighborhood. What else we want to talk about? I mean, pretty clear. You have a listing more than 30 days, got to do something different. Got to think outside the box. Got a buyer. If you're not prepping them, if they've searched for 30 days and they haven't found what they want, I think you need to have a firm talk to them. Are you prepared to get in the bidding war? Because what you want will have multiple offers. If you don't want to be in the multiple offer game, you need to go back and look at something that's been on the market 30 days with fresh eyes. And most of America needs to look at things with fresh eyes, I think. There are ample opportunities to buy a little house that can be undervalued with minor modifications. We just gotta get willing to do the minor modification, I think.
Isn't it funny when clients say, I don't want to be in a multiple offer thing, like.
They
what-
all do
Yeah,
that.
but like, okay, so you want to buy something that nobody else wants, okay, let me write that down.
All right.
And you gotta be as clear as ever, and I'm pretty clear about it. If you want it, you must assume 20 other people want it today. There's no why else, if you want it, someone else wants it too. Plenty of buyers, I assure you, there are plenty of buyers out looking at houses. And so that's why you would think that there would be multiple offers on something. And, back to the ethics and how that works. When I have multiple offers on things, I rarely tell the other people because I am nervous about buyer's remorse about getting into the bidding war. So, sometimes I just usually take the best offer. I don't want to go back and tell 4 people, give us your highest and best, because what if all 4 of them go away
Yeah.
and I'm stuck there 2 weeks with no offer? Just take a good offer.
The only one that I've ever seen go away is the weak sister, so
Yeah.
you just got rid of the weak sister, you still
Well, that was
have
good to
the
get rid
others,
of. Most people know if you just communicate the typical strategy that we have, put it on Thursday, have the first showing Saturday, go through the open house Sunday, take the highest and best by Monday at noon or whatever. Most people know the gig, then they know that there's multiple offers. It's the one that's been on 2 or 3 weeks and you get 2 offers at the same
Yeah, well,
time.
that's.
Going back to them, sometimes you might lose both. It's timing.
Like on my old 636 Oxford, we ended up taking the first offer at list price, which you can't complain. But an agent who's worked around this area called me up a few days later and she goes, oh, well, you're gonna give like a call for, I just figured you'd give a call for multiple offers and then, of course, we didn't end up having them, it just happened to be the right one.
Right.
And I think maybe some agents just have this conditioned idea in their head that it's just gonna work that way, and it's just not all the time.
It's just not, there's no one way to do it.
Had that agent already sent you an unsuccessful offer? Was she already in the
No,
game?
no,
Or
no.
she just was somebody who just called?
I don't know whether they were,
Wake
she
up
was out of
sleeping.
town, or,
Like-
I don't really know, it just was kind of maybe it's her personality, but it's a slightly indignant.
Right.
Well, okay, I've been doing this 21 years and we were told, submit your best offer.
Yeah, well, I think you should always submit your best offer.
Always. Well, I'm saying, when you've gotten offers, there are 5 offers, you go back to the agents. I got incensed when Kathy Wetmore just took a deal and it was an in-house Darty deal.
Which Kathy Whitmore will always do.
Yeah, maybe they knew the other house was,
I know,
you
I
never
couldn't
really
argue,
know.
I
They
couldn't.
have plenty of buyers in that price range, so hard to make any assumptions.
Yeah.
There's lots of reasons why you take an offer. Lots
But
of
I'm
reasons.
saying, that's out there, that mentality of highest and best is out there.
Well, yeah,
People love to negotiate, so, but there's no right or wrong way. You can't assume that you're gonna get a little email that says submit your highest and best.
Well, and the way to answer it too is, this is what my seller wanted me to do.
That's right. It is based
End
on
of
results.
discussion.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
I do think we have to be very careful that it is seller driven.
I know,
The sellers can get a little overwhelmed with, multiple offers. So they're looking for some guidance. I think.
Right.
So you weren't then upfront
Yeah.
before you put it on the market?
I want to rephrase, ask like maybe with a little price reduction, change the picture, maybe change some wording. You think it's worth taking it off the market and
Sure I
relisting
do.
it
Sure.
for a minute?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do. I think people like the hot sheet. They like seeing something new on the hot sheet. I think realtors are lazy to begin with. I think the buyers, get a little notice of something. So sure, I think it's always good to, after a while. take
Even
it
though
off.
if I do reductions on that, it's not going to show all the other agents that I did a reduction because it's a new listing.
It's okay.
So
That's right. Send them an email.
Still download all those agents'
It's an
email
email.
addresses and send them an email.
Cool. Yeah.
What else do you want to talk about?
At one meeting, you talked to us that in our listings, we can't, there's some things we shouldn't say anymore, like walk to April.
Yeah, master clause.
And, huh?
Yeah,
And-
that's right.
Because we're
Yeah, you
supposed
can't
to-
say walk to, that's right.
So where does it, where are these rules that we can read?
think if you're in the wheelchair and you can't walk to 8 Row Flint, you wouldn't want someone saying walk because that diminishes your value, as a person. So, I mean, you have to think of it from,
I have a link that has like the rule that I can ran
Yeah,
across. I can
so
send it to you,
looking for the
but Bill's right. It's mostly like common sense, just sensitivity sense, really.
master bedroom would imply that there's a slave bedroom, right? So that's.
So we don't say master
You
bedroom.
cannot say master
So
bedroom.
what do we say?
Owners retreat.
Owner suite.
Main bedroom.
Owner
suite.
But then how is owner's suite? Thank you.
Master would imply that there's a slave.
So does owners.
It is the owner suite, yes.
You go.
Well, I don't know if we're gonna say.
Was it
say
the same
why. Okay, but when you go to put in room sizes, doesn't it still say what's
That's
the
our
master
problem,
bedroom?
not my
It doesn't say
problem.
what's the big bedroom, or what's the owner's
The
bedroom, or what's the.
So what do you say, the owner's closet is really sweet?
Well, I actually thought you were kidding when you said that about master bedroom, so this is for real? Like, just-
There are firms that have been sued over that
But
very
is this
thing.
a Boulevard thing now?
I would prefer that we not say master
Okay.
suite. I would
Okay,
think that we could be more correct,
I
owner
I can
suite.
send
What
you
is
links
the
of, like,
difference
very
between our
basic-
neighborhood?
Well, I saw that.
Walkability.
There's a wall,
That's
yeah, there's a
There's
store,
a grade in the store.
there's a store, you can show
So
them.
why is that legal, whereas we walk to the restaurant?
Because we're just referring to another app. You just say
Personally, I think it's kind of
close to many areas.
I just
Within blocks,
the
within
main
feet,
bedroom.
within.
That's right, you can say anything that's.
I'm just saying, there is a double standard.
Oh, I'm not,
We're
of
judging
course,
ours.
there's a double standard, and yes, it can get to some extreme.
I say just do that. I just
But,
say what it is.
They had another deal, and they sent to me, I don't know, that got sent to everyone, but there was a very small house, and the people had 5 children, and they were turned down because they had 5 children, and those people sued them, and they are the new owner of that house, because they received far more compensation than the house was worth. You can't deny someone because they had 5 children.
How do they know they were?
How did they know they had?
I'm not in the court system, I'm just saying, hey, there's one of big judgments. I'm just saying it's out there, people are litigious, so. What else? GOMO or whatever, Kathleen went to the hearing or whatever. I mean, this is if you're selling something in Garden Oaks and they have that transfer fee in 4 of those 5 sections or whatever. I mean, it looks like, so they cannot collect the fee today.
Ever.
Well, it hasn't been totally ruled on, but it doesn't look like they'll ever be able
The
to
judge
collect that
said
fee again.
many times that transfer fee is no longer going to be collected.
Yeah, it's not final, but it does look like that will go away. If you're selling something in Garden Oaks, let's get some advice on it. The new hearing is the 20th of December, so have some ruling soon on that. How about selling in this 500-year floodplain and the new rules? Anybody been hurt by that yet? I'm gonna be curious to see. We're curious. I'm buying 2714 Morrison over here, which is in the 500-year floodplain.
For you to live in?
For me to live in, yes, and I'm gonna tear that down and build a house. It's gonna be very curious how high that has to be, so that I don't end up, because I'm very careful, I don't wanna pay $19,000 a year in flood insurance either, I'm gonna have to be high enough, so when that 500-year floodplain becomes the 100-year floodplain, which it will, I'm confident that it will, then I'm curious what the flood insurance is gonna be.
Do you know how high you have to go yet?
I don't, we'll know probably later today or tomorrow.
You don't want to retrofit that building?
I do not. The death trap of people, old people
You
dying.
have like guest rooms.
Yeah.
So did you work out a negotiation for the,
It's basically done, yes.
okay.
They're trying to close it at the end of the week now. So that'll be fun. I intend to build a very modern house there. To entertain.
Are you using an architect?
I don't know yet the answer to that question.
George Allen,
Cole.
he's working with, you can look at his work, George Allen Cole, thank you. He is, he's doing a house for Randall Davis on Milford, which looks really kind of cool. And he may be designing the one that we're buying on Banks if people.
I'm happy to talk to someone.
Look at him, he's a neat guy. I'll send
What
you.
about those architects from San Antonio?
Lake Plateau?
Yeah, Lake Placid.
It's the same thing. I mean, I'm very particular. I know exactly what I want. Do I really need to pay someone $200,000 with a name
Yeah.
to try and design? I mean, I did it with Ken Newberry. For the bracket holding up my library, I waited almost 4 months for him to design a bracket that cost almost $4,000 a bracket special order, when I could have had Marcos do it for $20, which is what I ultimately did anyway, and I didn't have to wait for.
Right.
If these architects design some panel that's, you know, made in Seoul, South Korea, that's gonna cost me $1 million for something that I don't really want anyway. And so I don't really need a name brand architect.
Well, you might ask him what he costs, I have no idea, I don't.
Studio Met was about $125,000. Brick Boom's about $15,000 to draw what I tell them to draw. I wanna pay $15,000,
Yeah.
$150, and wait on them. And I'm telling you, they will design a hinge that will cost thousands of dollars that I don't really
Well,
need.
but you can also say to them, just like you're saying to us.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in all this, I have vision.
The thing that we will continue to talk about and will stress, and I'm gonna harp on it more in January, the only real thing that's going on in real estate is disruption, okay? And it is the major topic. When I went to San Francisco, it's the topic. When I went to the HAR board retreat, I mean, it is the topic. You know, what are the disruptors? The open doors and the purple bricks and the EXPs and the different things. And I think we're going to be poised for disruption. The thing about these companies is that they do things with no profit incentive at all. I mean, you've got to remember, the Googles of the world lost billions of dollars before they ever made a dime, remember? So many of these companies are going to come to Houston, Texas. They're going to offer our fees for $500 or $1 or nothing, or pay people to use them. It doesn't seem to make any economic sense because they don't care anything about economics. And we'll have to see where that pans out. It's definitely coming. It's here right now. And so they make it convenient. If a consumer can go see a house by using their phone and opening it and not ever have to talk to a realtor, they're going to do that, right? A lot of people just want to look at a house without having to call the realtor. So that's what Open Door does. They make it easy for the consumer to get inside the house. If they like it, they call the people and then they buy it or not. Now, when you have occupied houses, that isn't going to work so much. And I still think people need to know a little bit more about whether or not it flooded, because you can't always trust everyone. I mean, there's going to be things that come up that cause disruption, and we'll have to combat them. I think you combat them with relationships and knowledge and experience that none of those other things can have. They will always do it cheaper. There is no doubt someone will do it cheaper. So we're going to have to defend what it is that we charge for our services, and we're going to have to make sure that we're clear what services we're really providing for them. And then I think you're going to have to continue to pair yourself with experience, because that's what that app doesn't have. And even its analysis, we can take those statistics we talked about, and you can say the average days on the market is 6 months. But I just told you that wasn't true. What sold in 31 days, and the other thing stayed for a year. So you can't assume, so when I go on a listing appointment, I tell people this exact same story. The average realtor is going to tell you the days on the market is 6 months, and they're going to want a 6-month listing. I don't need a 6-month listing because I'm going to know if your house is going to sell in 30 days or not. So I'm happy to take the 30-day listing. If it doesn't sell in 30 days, you have a problem and I have a problem. And you're going to be frustrated with me the whole rest of the 5 months, and there's no point in going down that path. Houses sell in 30 days or they don't sell. So let's price it right the very first time, not 31 days later. And let's do everything we can to make it sell in the first 30 days. Otherwise, you are going to have to do something different, which usually involves spending money. And I'm going to have to do something different, which usually involves spending money. So why don't we just both save money and do it all in the first 30 days, right? Otherwise, the other people are lying to you. They're manipulating the statistics out there. And so I think you have to be pretty direct with them about how that's going to work. And it's the same thing. Your best offers in the beginning gets worse after that. It's pretty true about that. I mean, there's always an anomaly, but we can't market to the anomaly. You have to market to where the market really is over there. So, I think that kind of dialogue, those kind of experiences, that kind of expertise is really what's going to set someone apart from someone. I mean, I see these it's a new company, I don't even know who it is. I mean, basically they're the same $500 listing company or whatever. And I don't know that it's not going to be about the money, because there's plenty of people that will do it cheaper than we will. It's going to be about the convenience. That's the real disruption. What is the convenience factor for a seller? There are plenty of them working in the East and West Coast that literally do charge significantly more, 8, 10, 12%. And literally, the agent takes over, they mow the yard, they handle the cleaning, they pack them up, they move them, they dry clean the carpets. I mean, it's concierge service and it's easy. And if you're rich, you know what you want? Easy. You don't want to mess with it at all. There's plenty of companies that are coming in and just buying the house outright. Now that frees up your money. Your house is no longer contingent. They're going to go represent you when you go buy a house. They paid you for your house already. And then you go buy this other house, and then that company turns right around. Now they're they sell their own houses right after that. Many of them come into the market because you know what that is? That's convenient for a seller who wants to buy a house, who doesn't want to go through the hell of this negotiation and this negotiation at the exact same time. You get your money, you get to go buy the house you want, you get to move in over there at your own little pace, you're not pressured to do anything, you move in, someone sells the house over here 6 months later. They're betting that the market will go up, but let's be clear, they're happy to sell this house at a loss in order to get this purchase over here. That's convenience, right? We have to look at these sort of things and discuss how they're going to impact our industry. They're going to impact our industry. Us, less so than the average Joe. Most of these models where you're talking about door and purple brick and those sort of things have not gone into markets, nor has it worked in markets greater than about 500,000. They'll either sit there and tell you that. Works fine in Cinco Ranch for the house is 279,000. Doesn't work so well in a market that has range of prices. It's harder to figure out. There's no algorithm of what 1111 West Main costs. You know, there's just no way to figure that out. So, but you will see this information, and your clients are going to be very well educated on how this works. And my goal is to educate you by the first of the year, and what is the appropriate response to those sort of things. So that's what we need to be focusing our time on. But if you will know what's walkable in the Heights to walk to, something new, the new restaurant, something about the schools, something about the historic district, something about flooding, something about the hike and bike trails, something of those natures, then I think that is the way to initially set yourself apart. If you're more honest about the state of the market and the micro markets and mini markets and understanding the difference between even how one pocket little section can work. I can look over there at Woodland Heights and tell you that Merrill is completely different from Bayland, which is completely different from Redan. You know, they're just different. And you have to know those differences. The difference in the 1,000 block and the 200 block. And it's all going to get pretty micro-oriented and more specialized than ever before, I think. But I would prepare myself for some form of disruption, and which means it's an opportunity for us to re-educate ourselves and reposition ourselves. Our industry is going to go through changes and it doesn't mean that it becomes obsolete, you know. It just means that it will evolve. Just like every other, I think there's plenty of people in the world, and I think the Department of Justice, and I think plenty of areas say our industry is the last one to have substantial changes. Okay? It still charges the same basic 6% it charged 30 years ago. The agents still basically do the same thing they did 20 years ago. And so I think everyone's looking at that saying the same thing. This is an opportunity for substantial changes in an industry that's been hesitant to change. And like I say, we're not gonna go jump off of any cliffs. We're gonna be a boutique residential real estate firm, locally owned, that's micro-focused. But we must prepare ourselves. And let's get real and don't cry. You're gonna lose a buyer or a seller to one of these guys. You're going to. It's a numbers game, and to think that one of your people that you work with out of hundreds, if not thousands, isn't gonna go do that, you're kidding yourself. So just shrug it off and go do business with people who you want to do business with, who want to do business with you, and don't try and pull someone in that really wants a $500 listing, because they're going to get what they pay for. And some of them, you don't know their whole situations. I mean, just get ready for some of it, and like I said, build relationships. Relationships work. It's this, I mean, think about it. I mean, I have really been saying this. Every other industry has done this. Take the financial brokers. Plenty of my clients work for UBS or Merrill Lynch or one of those deals. And everyone in the world can go sell a stock for $9.95 today. You don't need Merrill Lynch making 3% of your sale or all that stuff. But millions of people in Houston, Texas, and the wealthiest people in Houston, Texas, have a financial advisor that they pay an appropriate sum to. They don't pay them $9.95, right? They have separated themselves from, you can go to Charles Schwab or you can go to UBS. You got to decide who you're going to want to work with, UBS or discountstocks.com. And someone's going to use discountstocks.com from time to time, and someone's going to use UBS. You're going to have to differentiate yourself as the UBS of the world in order to make it. No, we will be talking a lot about that. What else do you want to talk about? I don't think it has to be negative. I mean, I think it can be positive that these are I mean, I'm telling you, the internet changed our industry. That's the last real change of the thing. And the consumer having more information than ever before, that certainly changed it. But it's going to be competition disruption.
Okay, this is completely different.
Good.
It's sort of a survey, but I also want to know. Is anybody using the hydrostatic testing amendment when you submit an offer? Like in a 1965 ranch house?
I mean, I would.
I have with my bungalows.
Okay, how is it being received? Because I'm having realtors be like, what? What is this? Why are you doing this? And I always tell them, they're not saying they're gonna do it. They're saying they want you to know and agree up front that they might do it. They're trying to be upfront about it. And they're all freaking out. It's like, what is wrong
My
with you?
experience was that it kind of, in their haste to sign the contract, they kind of just made it happen, you know? Like it was easier actually, because
It's
they,
easy for me too. No, I'm getting them kickback. And one of them, I think, just doesn't know what it is.
Well, I mean, there's.
Well, I don't know how I'm gonna explain to them, because, you know, the water pressure is fine, and I'm like thinking, oh, I don't know what to say to you.
I can't imagine anyone buying a house at that age and not doing it.
And you submit it with the offer.
Submit it with the offer.
Okay.
So I
So,
And I've been using Vernon Muncie to do a lot of the hydrogen. I used to use Michael Bush. I love Michael Bush. He's now a licensed farmer, and so I like him a lot more for that. But I like Vernon Muncie for a couple different reasons. One, the reports are much more extensive on what it is that they do. Two, they truly will do a hydrostatic. They will take the toilets off, they will do the hydrostatic, and then go in and do the isolation. Three, they have a seller approval form that says, we are gonna put this back the way we found it, basically. So any amount that you put in there that says, okay, the buyers will be responsible, the buyers will be responsible, and it's gonna be X amount of dollars. It doesn't matter what amount I put in there, because Vernon Muncie is doing that with that inspection for my buyers. They are going to take care of things. They're assuming the liability. And I have a higher chance of getting the seller to agree to
That's
that when I send that seller approval thing over with that form.
but to me, it's always the picking up of the toilets, that's where the problem is. So the deal with Michael Bush is he never lifts the
Right.
toilet. He'll climb up on the roof and go through, you know, the whatever. And so that's always been the scary part for me. That's why I say, well, look, if you use Michael Bush, I tell the other agent, the listing agent, look, if you use him, he won't lift the
And I used to
close.
say the same
That's
thing.
what
And
you
if,
say.
and if my client wants to use Michael Bush, I will say. the
Uh-huh.
same
But
thing. I
you
will
say,
change my
but
tune according to.
So you feel
who it
good
is.
enough, because I've had
I-
bad experiences with Herman Muncie, but maybe they're more.
So are you saying that up front, like when you submit the amendment, you say, here's the form?
I often will attach Herman Muncie's seller approval, and I will have a conversation with my buyers first and say, you have several choices, just like with inspectors, to use whoever it is you want to do a hydrostatic, here's what they're for, da, 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 da. This is one that these are two that I recommend, this one does this one does this, you know, da, 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 da. If you feel good about using Herman Muncie to do so, I will submit the seller approval with that addendum for the hydrostatic test, so that the seller.
And then what do you put in the, you know, seller assumes, buyer assumes, or?
I still try to seller assumes, but if they want to come back to the buyer, then I'll agree to it.
And Rhonda, how much does that Muncie guy cost for hydrostatic?
It is, it's $350 to do the hydrostatic and $250 to do the isolation.
Okay.
You only need the isolation if you find something with the hydrostatic.
Thank you.
I need more education on this hydrostatic.
Okay, we'll do a whole separate
Okay,
deal on hydrostatic.
I
test.
I had a
think
question. I had a-
Brandon gave me a man's name, Michael Bush.
Yeah.
We should just talk about it.
I'm sorry, I was doing something else.
Brad, what was your
It
question?
was wonderful
Just
when he
yell
comes
it out.
back.
Just yell it out.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I was gonna say I've come across the same thing with the stucco inspections.
Same thing.
I've been writing it in the special provisions that if the buyer decides the seller will go ahead to have one, the seller will go ahead and sign that authorization. I want to let them know up
Right up
front, we
front.
made one
Right
into
on.
their house.
You'd like to know right up front why.
Right, and I have had no pushback on it, none.
Wait, I was gonna say, one
And
thing
you
on that
found
one,
plenty
I did that one, I've done that one with stucco, and the lender came
Wanted it
back to the
removed.
buyer and said, where's the stucco inspection?
You could have.
And it was like,
never-
well, they chose not to do one,
Right. But
and
it's-
they
it's-
were,
The
they had.
wording is if the desire,
Yeah,
that's
the
what I
lender
put in.
said, well, that was the wording,
I
and
hadn't
the lender
thought
said,
about that.
well, you
Take it
were,
out.
I said,
What about
we're
when
gonna
we
do
do
it.
it?
That's right. I mean, an underwriter could flag it, and you just have to.
That one did.
Do any tips on preparing for the holiday season? Real estate tips on preparing for the holiday season?
Well, I think people like the holiday season. I think it goes back to people think of homes and cinnamon and, you know, pumpkin on the front door sort of thing or whatever. So I think you embrace the period of Thanksgiving and, you know, a little cinnamon candle goes a long way. It makes people feel good about it or whatever. But I mean, you gotta be realistic. Thanksgiving weekend and not going to be a lot going on. So there's disruptions tied to the calendar also. And I mean, we do need to focus on this, not related. Please never assume that you're going to close on Friday and move in Friday night or Saturday morning. Quit doing that. Quit doing it. The funding is going to take longer these days, okay? Just because of the fear of wire fraud and cashier checks. So please don't quit scheduling a closing on Friday if anyone has the assumption they're going to move in on Saturday, because the likelihood is that it's not going to fund on Friday, and everyone's got the loading van moved over here, and no one's going to let them move in without the money, you know? And so it's just, it's silly stress to do that. If you're closing on Friday and nobody's moving to the following Wednesday, I don't really care, but you can't assume that you're going to be able to close this day and move in the next day. And you have less of a chance of that happening at the end of the month or on the 15th or on Friday. So go make it happen on Thursday, you know, so that it funds by Friday so that you can move in on Saturday. That works just fine. But this assumption, buyer's going to sign at 9 a.m. on Friday. I can't make the seller sign before 5 p.m. on Friday, right? So when the seller goes in at 5 and they're finished signing at 6 and the lender's gone and there's no one to approve the funding, even if the money's at the title company, that jewel is not a done deal yet here, folks. And it's a hell of a lot of stress when the realtor should have known better. You know, so don't do that. Kick your things up a little bit and try and close on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Yes.
Yeah, it's that same thing whenever sellers want to sell that house and then turn around and wire that money to the closed title
It's
company and
just
then
too
go
complicated.
use that to buy their new house
Too
on the
many
same day.
things
It's
can
like-
happen that have no result with anybody else. You can't assume that closer's not busy at the next hour. I mean, it's just, I think you gotta have enough experience to not let that happen, because that's a hell of a lot of stress for people over here. I mean, including the broker. But I mean, you'd be surprised the number of time I've had to pay for furniture to sit in a van over here and then pay for someone's hotel for 2 to 3 days because the realtor just assumed that the seller side was gonna want their money quickly. Well, maybe they don't want it. I mean, you can't make them go and sign at the same time the buyer signs. No, I don't have any ability to do that. But that could be all. I mean, I think it's a good time to buy out, promote the holiday season as a time to capture your homestead exemption and rising property values. That's very important. I mean, there's always uncertainty on taxes. I mean, you get a different Congress, you may have a different capital gains tax next year. You don't really know that. You know what it is this year. So that's why a seller might want to sell today. I just would assume with the largest deficits in the history of mankind that there might be more taxes coming down the road for rich people. You got to assume that that's probably an option to cover the difference. So it's very favorable to a seller to sell today, and there's some uncertainty about next year. I mean, that might be a selling point for someone. For a buyer, same thing. The interest rates will probably go up. They're not going to go down. They've been artificially down for too long. So we know that that's really an incentive for some buyer who's thinking about buying today versus maybe next summer. I mean, the difference of a point or two. I think we can do our little chart again and show people the difference between 5 and 5.5% on a mortgage of $500,000 or $1 million. It gets to be a real number at some point, hundreds of dollars a month. Yeah, I mean, it's a big difference to some people. So those might be good reasons to work on that. Anything else? Okay.
Oh, update, are we still, update on that new?
Still the same. Still the same.
So at the end of December, right?
We're gonna finish around there and move in January.
I'm kidding.